Today I'm on the beautiful terrace in the offices of NGL in Warsaw, and I will speak to Paulina Bednarczyk, the Chief Operating Officer of the company. Paulina, during your professional career, you must have been, I'm sure, recruited for a few times at least. And this is what I want to ask you about your experiences or memories being a candidate, especially if there is anything that you remember as a really lessons learned from any of these recruitment processes that you have been taking part in. Is there anything like this that you could share with us?
I'm sure there is more than one story that I could recall during the last few or more years, but the one that probably impacted my career, the moment why I'm here today, was the moment that after 10 years being the auditor in Big Four, I decided that I will kind of switch my career and I will stop being the auditor and I will move to financial department role. And actually, I went for an interview for a position of financial controller. Before going, my friends asked me actually what you're doing. Financial controller position could be seen as lower than the manager role. It's kind of step back. But actually, I did this exercise before going for the interview and ask myself what actually I know from the financial area, and I knew that I have a huge experience in doing the audits on analyzing financial statements, the biggest entities on Polish market. But at the same time, I understood what gaps I still have in the field of finance, and I knew that I need to understand them on the right level before going to the next level. So I went for an interview, and of course, one of the questions was from managing partner, why are you taking this step, actually step back? But because I actually knew and I could explain the reason, probably that's why I was convincing and I got the job. For today, I can tell that was a great decision from my side. I hope from the entity side too. But that entity, of course, grew during the time. That was international company, so I did have a lot of opportunities during the years I've worked there. So probably the lessons learned is don't be afraid of kind of losing the title or taking the step back. Don't be afraid of not being named director anymore. Don't be afraid of moving from manager to specialist. If you know the reason, if you know what you can learn from that, that's probably the right decision to take.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's very interesting. Now I'm just coming back to what you mentioned, that interview and the question that you have been asked by the managing partner. Mm-hmm. Is there any other question that you remember from any of the recruitment processes that made you really like a very important step again, mm-hmm. or that was something tricky that you were not, that you were maybe surprised by? Do you remember anything like really a specific, tricky, difficult mm-hmm. question?
I don't recall any tricky one, but I think the most challenging one was when I was again kind of switching my career, so going out of the financial area to more operation. And actually during the interview I was not able to show in my CV that I've done that role before, that I've already have experience in that field. I knew I can do it, but the hardest part was to convince the others that I'm able to take the job and do the task. And as I said, if you have it already in your CV, that's easy. Somebody can just check or see what you've done. But if it's the first time you are taking a new role, you really need to understand how you will do it. I knew what things I want to do in the future in that role to make that project successful. And I was frank with my interviewers that it's not 100% skills I have for that role. I could say that I know I can do it. I could say that probably I have 75-80% of the skills needed. But also I could say that I'm sure that the other part I can learn, and I will make that project working.
If you would now switch the sides, but still staying with the question, when you are recruiting, especially in the last few years, I assume you're rather recruiting the more senior people because you are working closely with them directly. Is there anything specific that you ask the candidates, or maybe anything specific that you look for at the candidates you are recruiting for your closest peers?
So I think I really like and I prefer to take the interview as a discussion of two people. There's no list of questions I have. It's really that I meet a person. I will talk for next hour or more about what the person did. But as you've mentioned, especially on the level of specialist managers, you need to understand if you can work closely with the other person, and the other way, if that person will like to work with you in the environment you're creating. So it's discussion, and really it's not that I know what the next questions will be. But actually, if I will just go and screen the last discussions I had, the one question that always appears is the what you do after hours, what the hobby you have. And it's not just the question that, you know, it's obvious to be asked, but actually that gives me more understanding of the person. First, I know that person a little bit more. It's just an hour to know the other person. So it's always interesting. But also knowing the part of the hobby and then activities that person is doing, you can actually check if the things that the person said at the beginning of the discussion are the same, or actually something is not working there. So, or it's just that it's correlates so well, or actually that can ring a bell, something is not working.
Do you remember any specific memory that really something was wrong and that you really got not the answer you were expecting?
I think the most often experience and thing I can say, and I can see that it's not working after even the process is finished with positive result, is that when you ask a manager if they like to work with a team, how they manage their team, of course you hear that they love working with team, that they understand the differences, sure. But sometimes when I ask, okay, what you do after hours, what your hobby is someone is saying, I'm running away from people. I hate when there's so much going on. So then I'm asking myself, okay, so let's go back to the first question. Do you like to work with a team? And that's probably something that too many people say they like working and managing the team. That's probably the hardest skill, to be able to manage others. But on the other side, too many positions are required to have that skill.
Yeah, and that's why people are trying to make it a little bit look nicer, not necessarily really doing it. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.